Hello, this is Astrology with Real Stars, the Chronosight weekly horoscope forecast for the latter half of November, from November 16th to 30th, 2025. In the latter part of November, heavy structures like Saturn's direct station and Mercury's direct station will occur all at once. So this year, November will be a very important and significant turning point, perhaps the most dynamic, or even if not dynamic, a time when the heaviest decisions can be made. Now, the first thing that comes in is yes, on November 18th, Mars will meet the royal star Antares of the West. It operates from the afternoon of the 17th to the dawn of the 20th. At this time, a project or investment that you had strategically planned in advance, which you thought would go well, might turn out to be unexpectedly successful, exceeding expectations. But in this process, someone with little innate leadership might try too hard, set the goals a bit too high, and start micromanaging people around them. By trying to control everyone's actions, you could end up getting a lot of flack. So at this time, if an incompetent person tries to take the lead, it can lead to a major downfall. It's fine if you just do your own thing well, but if you try to act like a king, it can cause some problems. It would be good to keep that in mind. Now, on the next day, Mercury moves and forms an opposition with Uranus. It's a structure that operates from the afternoon of the 18th to the 20th. At this time, a really unexpected sudden notice or announcement. Something like, "We will not be open for business from tomorrow, but I have money tied up in there," something like that. Because of that, you can be stunned and end up in a situation where you lose money. And at the worst possible timing, when you're thinking, surely not now, a computer error or communication breakdown could occur, putting you in a really difficult situation. Because you can't explain or make excuses for it, you could find yourself in a coincidentally awkward situation thinking, wow, is this really happening at this timing? And on the same day, Venus will conjunct Zuben Elgenubi. Zuben Elgenubi is a purely malefic star. Among the fixed stars, it's considered quite inauspicious, so it's not great. When it conjuncts Venus, it's even less favorable. That's because for Venus to meet Zuben Elgenubi, it has to be in Scorpio, where it's in detriment. So this configuration is valid on the 19th. During this time, Venus and Zuben Elgenubi can bring about some issues with love affairs, messy ones to be specific. Everyone, do you know the difference between affection and a scandalous affair? A scandalous affair involves a forbidden, inappropriate relationship. Affection isn't entirely inappropriate, but it can involve events that are a bit unreasonable. That's how we can distinguish them. Because Venus and Zuben Elgenubi can cause scandalous affairs to surface, many people around you can become very embarrassed, even if they're not directly involved. The people involved will, of course, have a very, very difficult time. And in addition to that, there can be malicious gossip and disputes, meaning disputes or gossip can arise with the malicious intent to ruin someone's reputation. Once again, not just the people involved, but also those around them can be put in a very awkward position. Now, however, there's Zuben Elgenubi and Zuben Elschemali. Zuben Elgenubi, the alpha star of Libra, is a malefic star, and the beta star, Zuben Elschemali, is a benefic one. In just a few days, as Venus moves direct, it will meet each of them in turn. This is a configuration that's active from the afternoon of the 22nd to the morning of the 23rd. Now, at this time, the latter half of November is quite packed. There are many configurations, many malefic ones, and even if not malefic, many heavy ones. It's chaotic and very hectic, but even amidst all that, this is a period where you can take a brief breather. It's an especially appropriate time to be introduced to people. This applies to being introduced for business purposes, and it's also well suited for private introductions, like a blind date or a formal matchmaking meeting. This applies to business and private introductions, such as blind dates or formal matchmaking. And after about 2 to 4 days, you may notice that As Mars moves, it will be placed at the southern bending, the point exactly 90 degrees from the south node to the north node. It will be active from the evening of the 25th to the 29th. During this time, things like the power grid or electrical equipment, radio waves, electricity, things that are indispensable in our modern science and technology, can suddenly experience structural failures due to external factors, leading to widespread malfunctions. Things that should obviously be working can suddenly stop. Earlier, Mercury and Uranus were related to communication issues. This is not that. The Mars-South Node conjunction, regardless of communication, can cause things like power plants or manufacturing factories to shut down. It can lead to such events. And another bad thing is, to terminate a contract without a valid reason, this contract could be wholesale, retail, or an employment contract. One party really wants to terminate it, but by the rules, it's a bit difficult. So, to get around the rules, someone might use a trick they've been planning for a long time to terminate a contract. The party having the contract terminated would be in a difficult position. That's why you have to defend against it, and disputes related to such contracts could arise. And then, on the next day, Mercury and Venus meet. How so? Mercury has started its retrograde, right, last week? It started on the 9th of last week, so it's moving backward, while Venus is moving direct. This is called a sudden applying conjunction. It's like they brush past each other in an instant. A direct moving planet and a retrograde planet aren't going in the same direction. They're going in opposite directions, so they brush past each other momentarily. And at the very degree where they have this sudden applying conjunction, coincidentally, there is Unukalhai, the alpha star of serpents. So Mercury, Venus, and Unukalhai meeting happens on November 25th. This configuration is active from the afternoon of the 25th through the 26th. It's quite sly. Should I translate sly as cunning? It's a bit, rather than vicious, it's more like a cunning kind of malice that can be exercised at this time, like accusations or sniping at someone on social media or through messengers. It's sniping, really, trying to bury someone by sniping at them, and that can become a major issue. Naturally, public figures, people who are nearly celebrities, or those with high-ranking titles could become targets. So, at this time, the thought of screwing over people you personally dislike, well, anyone can have thoughts like that. About someone you dislike, you might think, I wish they'd just fall flat on their face. But usually, you just think it to yourself, and it doesn't translate into action. But during this period, strangely, it's very easy for that bad intention to be put into action. And conversely, because of Unukalhai, the bad feelings from this meeting of retrograde Mercury and Venus, these bad feelings aren't hidden even if they aren't overtly expressed through words and actions. Perceptive people can see it all through your expression, your demeanor, or your nuance. So it's good to be a bit careful and restrain yourself with the thought that, if I hold malice towards someone, it might not be something I can completely hide as my own. Okay, and now for the important one, Saturn. Yes, the R symbol is gone. On November 28th, Saturn stations as it turns direct. This configuration is active from the 22nd to December 4th. At the community level, meaning at the national, group, or regional level, there are environmental risk factors, not environmental in the ecological sense, but structural factors, due to things like macroeconomics, macropolitics, diplomacy, and so on. Trump is causing trouble, so exporting companies are struggling. Is this really the fault of those companies? No, it's not. And is it Korea's fault? No, because Trump was elected in the US. But does that mean all American citizens 100% support Trump? That's not the case either. So someone like Trump is a kind of natural disaster. A natural disaster. He's a symbolic figure of that sort. So even though it's no one's fault, countless people have to face the aftermath, the fallout. So this will be a time when those kinds of risk factors seem to disappear. But the fact that it seems to be disappearing means it's not actually gone. And what's interesting about this time is that a strange phenomenon can occur where people go all in on investments, even by cutting back on essential spending. This could be real estate, stocks, crypto, or even educational investments for their children. Because if you invest a ton in private education for your child and they don't get into a good university, it's all for nothing. Investment is something that can fail. But anyway, it's a situation where it feels natural to go all in on investments, even by cutting back on essential spending. So people's disposable income decreases significantly, but strangely, that money tends to go into investments for the future, long-term investments. So in any case, consumption will decrease significantly. In the past, people would just put cash in the bank, but that's not the case these days, right? They invest in real estate, buy real estate REITs, invest in stocks or ETFs, index funds. Because of that, it's not so much that everyone is investing, but it's more like they're buying stocks and ETFs with the feeling of saving money, like in the old days. So this could be a turning point where such things become very common. And of course, because it's a planetary station, people whose Time Lord or personal significator is Saturn may experience significant changes in universal life matters like health, wealth, career, marriage, residence, moving, and so on. Okay, and later, there's a lot happening on the 30th. As Venus moves, it forms an opposition with Uranus. This is active from the morning of the 29th to the afternoon of December 1st. Now, at this time, work might have been going very well, but a task that was progressing smoothly could suddenly go wrong due to relationship issues. It's disheartening in such cases. And also, it's a period where it's very easy to feel betrayed by someone you were close to, even if it's hard to say it outright. What does it mean when you can't say it outright? If you were to just say, "You betrayed me," maybe the misunderstanding could be resolved, but this misunderstanding can last for a very long time. A misunderstanding that arises at this time. And on the same day, Mars meets Sabik, the beta star of Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus has a feel kind of like high-functioning autism. It's a collection of stars that are good at one or two things, but overall they lack social skills. Anyway, this is active from the 29th to the afternoon of the 30th, and it can be a time when biased political beliefs, leanings, or religious views that you've kept well hidden might be revealed to those around you. Oh, that person is on that side, they're far right, they're far left, things like that. Or maybe it's revealed you follow a very heretical religion. This can lead to situations that create a sense of unease. Or due to very stubborn words and action. Even if something is right for you, what's right for you isn't necessarily considered right by others, is it? So, stubborn words and actions that can seem a bit self-righteous can lead to discord with your family, spouse, or the close people you should be open with. And also on the same day, Mercury's R symbol Yes, it disappears. It disappears. On November 30th, Mercury stations turning from retrograde to direct motion. This structure is in effect from the 25th to December 5th. At this time, due to excessive sensitivity, some unnecessary gossip or disputes may have occurred, and as a result, you'll have wasted a lot of emotional energy, won't you? You've wasted emotional energy that you didn't need to, but anyway, that event is over. But the trace of hurt feelings remains like a scar. This will become a problem again later. Similarly, matters that should be handled rationally and professionally get messed up because personal feelings and grudges are strangely injected into them. Problems arise. So a person who is sane in this situation becomes a bit bewildered. Why are people injecting emotions into things when they should just handle the work as work? So it can become a situation where the normal person is the one who suffers. The one who always brings emotions into work is the abnormal one. It's a sin. Now, for people whose Time Lord or personal significator is Mercury, like with the Saturn station earlier, there will be significant changes in universal life matters such as health, wealth, career, marriage, and residence. Here, significant changes means things that could be the most impactful and important or even life-changing events for that person within 6 months before or after. That's what could happen. Of course, since Mercury stations happen 6 times a year, you need to pay close attention to those that occur in the profection angle. You need to know this rule. It's necessary to keep an eye on such events occurring in the profection angle. Alright, the Chronosight Weekly Fortune Forecast. That concludes the story for the latter half of November 2025. Thank you.